Banjiva Korja, Eimear Burke here. Welcome to another Fireside Chat. And this is Fireside Chat 194, brought to you by the Order of Bards, Ovates and Druids. And as is customary, I start with a prayer for peace. Gomara Siacán a fud na crinne. Gomara Siacán in our Jaili agus in our Jirha. Gnairi Lin Lenarcuj Garmacha. Gamij Buicus Jeev Jeha Chivzaka Spirit Quivzaka. May peace prevail on earth. May peace prevail in our homes and in our countries. May our missions be accomplished. We thank you, guardian spirits and guardian deities, for peace. As the fever of day calms towards twilight, may all that is strained in us come to ease. We pray for all who suffered violence today. May an unexpected serenity surprise them. For those who risk their lives each day for peace, may their hearts glimpse providence at the heart of history. That those who make riches from violence and war might hear in their dreams the cries of the lost. That we might see through our fear of each other a new vision to heal our fatal attraction to aggression. That those who enjoy the privilege of peace might not forget their tormented brothers and sisters. That the wolf might lie down with the lamb, that our swords be beaten into plowshares, and no hurt or harm be done anywhere along the Holy Mountain, with thanks to John O'Donoghue. So you're all very, very welcome. And let me see where you're from. Hello from storm-battered Ulster. Well, we've had certainly lots of rain here. My house overlooks the River Nore, which is across the road, a field away. And I'm looking at Avalon now because it's a huge floodplain. Luckily, I'm on a hill and I'm safe. But many places in Ireland have been flooded. Kisses from a relentlessly rainy northern Italy. Hello from Berlin, Sintra in Portugal, Washington, Sierra Nevada, Northern California, Boston, Calgary, surprisingly spring-like Calgary. Wow, you mustn't have any snow. Brilliant. Indiana, Shropshire, beautiful. Wyoming, lovely. Hello, there's a Lunasa, of course, Lunasa blessings to our Southern Hemisphere brothers and sisters, and Imbolc blessings to those on the northern side. Gisborne, New Zealand, lovely. So lovely to see you all. And Hertfordshire, Tennessee, lovely. Italy on a holiday based in Switzerland. Oh, you poor thing. From Rome, brilliant. Penlyn. Anyway, lovely to see Appalachian Mountains, Tennessee. Wonderful. So we are going this evening to Portugal. And my guest is Zoe Merber. So Zoe, you're very, very welcome to this Fireside Chat.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Emma.
So tell us where you are in Portugal, because I have never been.
I am in central Portugal, so in the middle towards the Spanish border.
So what's the landscape like there?
So I am on a land which has many, many olive trees. And if you drive out of this land, there's even more olive trees, cork oaks. It's mostly flat here, but in the background, there is the Serra da Gordunha. It's quite high mountains, and they overlook a really big lake, which is a place where I really enjoy to go. And so that's sort of the landscape I'm in here.
And there's somebody here, Jens, whom I know, but he's greetings from floodplains in Portugal. So what's the weather like with you at the moment?
It's horrible. It's horrible. We've had months and months of rain and rain and rain and rain. And now last week we had a really bad storm that caused a lot of damage. And it's just, I think I've been looking at the weather in Ireland and in the UK, and I think you guys had better weather than we had here this winter. So,
well, we've had our fair share of. We still have towns are flooded. In the southeast, Dublin, quite bad, and South Kilkenny. I'm in Kilkenny, but where I am, I'm okay. But the south of the county, houses have been flooded, so it's very, very rainy. So I'm looking at your background, and I know you're living in a cob house, and I am always fascinated with cob houses. Can you tell us a little bit about your house?
Yeah, I can. So when we arrived here 12 years ago, there was just a ruin here with 3.5 granite walls, and um, we wanted to live in a house and not in a caravan any longer. So one day I said to my partner at that time, I said, "Well, what are we going to do about it?" And we sort of looked at the house. We were sitting in front of it in the chair in the sun, just gazing at it. And I said, "You know what? We're just going to cop that thing." And it turned out that we had the perfect soil for it in the ground on our land. We had no electricity at the time, so we shoveled the earth out and wheelbarrowed it over to a top and stomped it and put it on with the hands and feet, and that's how we slowly build up this part of the house. The rest was a bit less laborious. We learned from from this experience, but yeah, that's how it slowly came about. It's got some sculptings in it with sacred symbols, and yeah, really custom
Oh,
made.
I'm the first cob houses I was in, Carr-Gomm. It's a special place in Wales, in Snowdonia, and there are many cob houses, a number of cob houses on the compound, and they're absolutely beautiful because it's like made with your hands, and it's just everything's so beautifully smooth, and in a not in a skimmed way like you would with proper plastering, but with your hands, and the idea of being able to plaster or make little nooks and crannies for yourself and funny shaped windows and then have your own sigils or symbols, I think is just absolutely wonderful. What's your roof made of?
Oh, that's very unromantic. So we've got a wooden ceiling, and on top of that are zinc plates, roof plates, because
Ah,
we were finishing the house in November, and we had a stormy, horrible November that time, and the walls sort of started flushing down, and we're like looking at 5, 6 months of work just pouring down, and we're like, okay, that's it. Now we're going to need to come up with a radical solution. So we put the zinc plates on, thinking we'll replace them. But to be fair, this sort of life is hard work. So we always said later, later, not a priority now, and they're still on and very ugly. So the house is very pretty on the inside, and the walls on the outside as well. But when you see the roof, it's not quite it.
I had imagined a turf roof, um, but I mean I understand that it was a funny echo there. I don't know what that's about. Um, so people are talking about wanting to build a cob house, hopefully or straw bale. It's just beautiful to be able to make things. I can't, but I saw when I lived in Africa, women used to be able to build their own houses, traditional houses. And then with technology and modernization, people want to have brick houses. And that means you can't do it yourself. You need to get somebody else in. And how disempowering it is not to be able to build your own house in your old shelter. We've given that up through what you call development. But the idea of making one's own house, I think, is just fascinating. And then to be able to grow something on the
Yeah.
roof. Anyway,
Yeah, this
so
is what we always imagined. We actually put the beams in a way to. Oh, sorry, the internet connection is a little bit off, I think, but storms, huh? So we made the roof in a way so that we could put a sod roof and actually grow something on it. That's the idea. So I'm with you there.
somebody says, I've seen really cool bricks made from recycled plastic bags. Wow. It's interesting about using plastic because it can't go anywhere. And I know that an Irish woman actually in Tanzania, who set up this project of collecting plastic bottles, and making furniture out of them. And that's fascinating. And we have a member, Mark Buxton Kelly, who collects either old baling twine or even polyester t-shirts that can't break down. He cuts them into ribbons and he crochets bags that because it's not going to break down, but that you can use them. That's fascinating. So, yeah, I hope you can hear me because I know there's a pause anyway, a delay. Can you hear me? I don't know if you can hear me.
It's just fall away. Can you hear me now?
I can, yes.
Hello? Sorry.
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, connection is really bad. Yeah, let me just look for a solution.
Okay. I just see people near me talking about bottle wall windows in the COP. I've seen those and they look wonderful because they get different colored glass. It's just beautiful. Um, yeah. So people can hear you when you speak. But I know the internet is bad. And I know what Zoe said earlier.
Yeah, I think it might be better now, but I'm not sure.
Do you want to try with your phone?
Better because I don't have I don't also think it's my connection, to be honest. But are we good now? Are we in sync?
You're frozen, but I can hear you. Now you're frozen again. Can people hear me? And am I freezing? Just asking the viewers, am I freezing? Can you hear me? So if anyone can respond to me, because I know my signal seems to be good. Yeah, so I'm good. Okay. So I think it's on your end, Zoe. And I don't know if you 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 can use your phone. Is that possible? You've frozen. No, I'm not freezing. Okay. So it's Zoe, I think it's on your side. You're back. Can you hear me? No. Maybe go out and come back in.
Yeah, sometimes honest.
You go out and come back in. Okay.
I'll be
Or if you're
back.
dropping. Okay. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to tell you a story. I was at a storytelling festival at the weekend in Galway, the Moth and Butterfly Storytelling Festival. And there was a competition called Gimme a Minute, where we had to tell a story in less than 60 seconds. So, and I won a prize. So, I won a mug, the Moth and Butterfly mug, and a little notebook. So I'm going to tell you the story while we're waiting for Zoe to come back. Sorcha and Dorica were twins, but they were so different. Sorcha was shiny, bright, and full of fire. And Dorica, he was deep, dark, and mysterious, and they did not get on. And the cosmos was filled with chaos, flashing fires, big loud bangs, deep, dark, mysterious black holes. Until wisdom came along and persuaded Sorcha and Dorica to share time and space. That is, they could each reign for 12 hours each, and they could move from light to dark and light again, just like the turning tides. And so night and day were created. And this worked for a while, but then they got bored. One winter solstice, Sorcha snatched a bit of light for herself, just a little cock step, as they call it, but every day taking a little more until by midsummer she had most of the day to herself. At that point, Dorica, he snatched a little bit of darkness for himself, just a cock step. Each day getting shorter and the nights getting longer until by midwinter he reigned supreme. So instead of fighting and competing with each other, Sorcha and Dorica began this dance like a turning tide, moving from light to dark and light, and they've been doing so ever since. Zoe, are you back? You're frozen again. So why don't you?
I think I am. Eimear.
You're back. Oh, great, great, great. Okay.
I think
So
you are in sync when you're talking, so maybe I am.
now you're freezing. I think your
Am
interconnection
I?
is not
No.
good. Yeah. So, do you want to use your phone? Can you use your phone?
I've just asked for somebody's phone to make a hotspot. I can't make that out of my own phone, but the problem is being
No,
worked
but
on.
can you use the phone instead of the computer? Is what I'm saying.
Not unless I go and sit outside in the dark.
Ah, okay, okay,
The
okay, okay.
beauty of off-grid living is that I don't have Wi-Fi.
Okay, okay, okay. All right. So, just tell us a little bit about your background then.
My background.
Mm,
So I'm Dutch originally. Just tell me if you can't hear me anymore. That would be helpful.
I can hear you.
I'm
Keep talking.
originally Dutch. Grew up. Okay. I grew up in the south of Holland in Limburg. And wanted to live closer to the land, actually. That was my teenage dream. So at some point I decided to come to Portugal, do this here, and to study at some point. So I am studying psychosynthesis, psychology, and training to become a therapist or therapist in training. Yeah. So that's a little bit about my background. Got 3 children that grew up on the land here. My main reason for coming here. So yeah.
And are you working in private practice already?
Yeah. Yeah. I started that March last year.
Okay. And is that online that you do that, or do you do it physically?
Both online and in person. I've got a space on the land here. I like to work close to the land and to include the land in the therapy, but to make it accessible for people. And many people travel here, so there's online and in person. It varies. Some people do both. Yeah, to keep
And
the
so,
freedom.
I know you're about to move. You're about to leave that place. So how does that feel?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, 2 weeks. Very exciting. Very exciting. I've about 4 years ago, Druidry, psychotherapy, and the UK came into my world all at once through a person. And since then, I've been dreaming about all 3 of them. So I joined the order that year. Started looking into what training I wanted to get as a therapist. So those go really hand in hand for me. And started actually looking up just for fun lands in Wales to see if that was a possibility of living there. And for 5 years now, that has sort of been growing on me and growing on me. And then for my course, I needed to go to the UK more and more, and I really love the place. So it's been sitting there, but now it's finally coming into being in 2 weeks from now. So that's very exciting. Also, it's ambivalent, of course, because I really rooted in this land here, and I really appreciate what it's got to offer. So to leave that behind, of course, has a sadness to it as well. Yeah.
And are you bringing your children with you, or how do they feel about moving?
The children are excited and also ambivalent. Yes, they will come along for part of the journey. It will be unclear exactly what's going to happen. It's sort of stepping into the unknown. So for the first period that we're going to be there, I've got a little cabin in the woods. And then when they go back to Portugal with their father, I will step into the car and drive to Ireland and see what I encounter there. So it's sort of all up in the air and quite on, and don't want to be too adventurous with the children there, like living in the car isn't exactly my idea of good parenting. So I will keep the adventure mostly to when I'm alone. But it would be very nice to find a place for us to put our yurt, or
Yeah, Liz wants to know, are you going to build a cob house again, when you finally find a place?
My first response would be never. Never again. I wouldn't have the energy to do it again. But then we did it all with 2 people and a toddler that was still breastfeeding. So to do that in a community, like in a community, whatever that looks like, of people coming together and doing that, that would be beautiful. But a cob house is very earthy as well. It's a lot of earth element, like sort of around you and above you, and I am very earthy. So for me, the idea of living in my yurt, which is much more airy and much more nomadic, and might be a good counterbalance to the character, right? So I wouldn't necessarily go for it again, no.
It's interesting about it does need energy, and it needs community to build a cob house. So yeah, and hopefully we used to have teepees here, and they're not good in a non-dry climate, in a moist climate. I remember we spent 3 summers in them out in the garden. There was nobody in the house, and except our cat. And the 3rd year, it was 2008. It was the wettest August we had at the time in recorded history, and everything was humid. Nothing dried, and I thought, these are designed for hot dry climates or cold dry climates, and I suppose yurts are a little bit like that too. So at least you have with a teepee, there's no chimney, as in there's a smoke hole, and the rain does get in. It allows for all the elements to be, but at least with a yurt, you can close the roof and have a stove with a flue out of there, and you can heat it. So beautiful.
Yeah, well, when I bought the yurt, Ireland wasn't yet in my list of ideas, so it wasn't adjusted to the idea of living in such a wet climate. But I've heard of people doing it with like a good PVC, sort of unromantic PVC roof over it. So I think it might be possible, yeah.
Well, you have to be practical. And it's funny, Liz Hills says, we're moving in the opposite direction because I'm currently living in a yurt. Liz lives in Wyoming, so she's currently living in a yurt and hoping to go into a house. It's really interesting. But it's lovely to be able to move back and forth, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's quite a delay.
Experience something different sometimes is really important, isn't it? It broadens the horizon. Yeah.
So how did you find Druidry? What was it about Druidry that called you?
So my journey into all of this started when I was a teenager, where I found paganism really interesting, and symbolism, alchemy, all these things started coming onto my path then. And I remember reading The Alchemist from Paulo Coelho and thinking, this is a story about a young person being initiated by an alchemist in very earthy ways, I think, like very much by looking at what's happening in nature around. And I remember thinking at that age, and he's got a few books like this where young people get initiated. And I remember thinking like, oh, one day when I'm ready, the teacher will come. But it didn't exactly happen like that. So I just kept developing as I moved here. I kept sort of looking at North European Celtic festivals, literature, trying to translate that to a Mediterranean climate. That was like a big project I had going on, creating rituals that were like suitable for us to do here with the children, rather than doing something very North European that doesn't actually suit the climate. So there was a whole journey around that. But I think I never actually found my way in. So there was never that, that the portal to the other world never fully opened for me until at some point somebody introduced me to Druidry. And I still remember telling her, oh, can you tell me what you learned? And she laughed. And she did the course, and I didn't understand why she laughed. I'd never done an experiential course. I'd always studied, with the head and all of that. So when she laughed, she said, well, it doesn't exactly work like that. And I was like, so interested. My curiosity was really tickled. So that's when I said, well, what can I do? And she said, just read the story of Taliesin and then get some introductory courses. And I was like, all right, I can do that. And I think then Druidry really entered into my life as something that I'd been doing, but that offered me a portal with the ritual and with the meditations. It was a pointer that sort of led me in, like it's all here. You just need to focus in the right direction, and then you can find what you're looking for. But that's what the literature didn't do for me before. So.
Yeah, it's interesting. The head doesn't, I mean, the head is important, but it needs to come into the heart, into the emotions, into the psyche, rather than the intellect, in order to find a way in. Oh, beautiful, beautiful. So, how would you say, I don't know how far you are in the path, it doesn't matter. You don't have to tell me. But how has Druidry helped you in your life?
So I'm halfway through the O-grade grade. I'm not shy telling you, and I've been there for a long time now. So what I notice is that I think I joined the order in 2020. So that's 6 years ago almost. And there are these, I've done the course very dedicatedly, and then suddenly there's a long delay. And then suddenly there is sort of this moment where I think, oh, let's pick it up, And I pick it up in exactly the right moment. There's like such a magic to the course so I think that's how it helped me, especially because Druidry came into my life when I was sort of at a down point of, well, I guess the start of what you would call a spiritual awakening, or like, which came with a lot of turbulence. So it sort of helped me in my own development to every time pick up the verse and then realize that it had the ritual in there, or the element in there, or the whatever I needed to sort of understand where I was. And I'm finding the same with the Ovid grade at the moment. It's really helping me deepen into that, which is actually important to me at the moment. So to really pinpoint how it has helped me, I can't say, because it's like through doing the journey, it's become a part of me, and it's quite hard to sort of discern like what comes from where and how it helped exactly. Yeah.
I think many members have said things like that, whatever's going on in their lives, and then they open a verse, and it's the right one for that time in their life. And I know for me, I was looking for something for my own landscape. I was very frustrated, working with an American medicine woman and a Tanzanian healer. They were brilliant, but not for my landscape. And I found it really frustrating. And then this book hops out in a bookshelf at the right time, Cassandra Easton's book. And then she mentions, oh, what at the back of the book? And I joined, and that was it. So it was that time, I'm looking for this, and how a book pops up from a shelf or you see it. That's magic. And again, so many people say that the beautiful synchronicities, that, what you need just appears. I think that's beautiful. So, do you write poetry that you would like to share with us?
Well, you asked me, and I did find a poem. You know what I was thinking about with regard to poetry? If you ask me what poetry is, I would say I I unfiddle this piece of my heart and I sort of put it on the table, all bloody and everything, organ and all, you know? And that's what poetry is for me. So when you asked me if I wanted to share a bit of poetry, it's like, oh gosh, that's very, but I found something that, yeah, I think that's all right to
Good.
be shared. Yeah.
Okay. Would you like to
So
share it
I
now?
always admire people with their bardic skills and just sort of putting them out there, you know? Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
I can. I'll just have to see if my laptop can do it. So this is a poem that came forward out of a meditation with the Queen of Cups from Philip and Stephanie's card deck, the tarot. The wisdom you search, my child, lies at the heart of you. I can give you some of mine, you see, but your destiny is truth. You seek a knowing that is already quite clear. All I do is nudging you to the very place it steers. To trust your direct line of intuition and knowing truth. It's all in good company, your fantasy, imagination, and youth. She knows the way to lead, if your trust be with her, the wisest wisdom of a 3-year-old, unspoiled by rational deter. You are still that child, remember, the wisdom too much? For you already knew the question that started your search. You're growing bigger than the boundaries humanly involved. They might rub you magically until one day they are dissolved. To keep them artificially as a means to self-protect defies the whole process, though leaves the ego neatly intact. Can I prove my point, you ask? Well, I could surely try, but trusting, this is other stuff, from which I know you not to be shy. You are as brave as night and dawn, the stars and moons your friends. Know the child is there to draw and guide you by the hand. Meanwhile, you precious love, don't stand back, just ask. I companion you with care through the odd life task. Speaking, the Lady of Cups, you call me mostly by that name, though my names are plentiful and inherently all the same.
Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So I remember you gave a talk for the mental health interest group, didn't you?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Would you like to talk about that part of your work and your interest? Because I think it's quite fascinating.
Can you hear me still?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, about menstrual cycles, you mean?
Mm,
So I did a training as a menstruality mentor, the menstruality leader program, which I think is a fascinating program, really looking to embrace feminine leadership in a different way. So it's about embracing all there is, not trying to show up the same every day in a very linear fashion. And it mostly does that through cycle awareness, which can be done through the menstrual cycle or the moon, the sun cycle, whatever draws people most. But I guess as a woman with a menstrual cycle, that's the easiest way. And they they made they made a map of the menstrual cycle and how it leads through different seasons, you know, like the seasons of the year, like how we have them inside of us as well, and sort of the strengths and the weaknesses that lie in that, and can we attune ourselves to our deep embodied wisdom and show up as we are every day from that wisdom, which, yeah, I thought was absolutely fascinating and is a part of my spiritual practice together with Druidry that my existence sort of hangs upon. It's it's a daily thing to check in with yourself and see how you're doing, where are you, what sort of care do you need in order to show up. Do you need to show up, or is it a day where you can just show down, hide a little bit more, or and be really authentic in that. Yeah.
I think there's a challenge in this world
So
to be.
that's part of the work I did. I don't do that.
Sorry, do you say you don't do that now?
There you go. It's a big. No, not so much. It's very much my own spiritual practice, and I do consider it as a therapist working with people, and I often bring it in when working with women, and I can sort of see it as well as female clients come in. I can track them and where they are and the way they show up and all of that. So it definitely is an important part of the work. Don't really actively educate people on this at the moment. My interests have sort of flown to other things at the moment. Yeah.
Okay, so I assume when you move to the UK, you just continue your practice, but online, yeah?
Yeah. I will for now do only online practice, and yeah.
Okay. I think our reception is so bad. I'm going to bring this to an end. It's just there's too much of a delay. But just before we end, what concerns you about the world today?
Wow, that's a really interesting question. I think that what immediately comes up for me is the fact that we don't have an animist perspective on the world as a culture, and that's a really big problem, I think. It means that we can treat any subject, any other being becomes an object, can become objectified, can be a means to our ends, and I think that's one of the main reason we are uncertain as human species, and we brought the rest of the planet with us in that.
And what gives you hope? If anything gives you hope, what, or do you have any hope?
What really gives me hope is our soul's calling, that people innately came here, and what really brings me hope is that I'm seeing more and more people actually standing up and doing that which they feel they need to be doing. And besides that, it's like living my own calling that gives me hope. Like, I'm really, at the moment, my interest goes to psychoanimism and founding a psychology that is based in an animist worldview. And just, I can go to places where it feels really meaningless, and I see the world around me and I think, oh God, how are we ever? But when I'm engaged with that and I'm researching that and I'm reading and writing and I'm active, talking about it, and then my heart fills with hope, and I think that there is a way forward. It's going to be a big jump, and we're going to really need to show up and be able to be with ourselves and suffering. I think there is a way forward. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. Cara has a question. Is it bad that my soul's calling is to a city?
Oh, it's a big question to ask if something is. I wouldn't say something is bad at all. No, I think a soul's calling is beautiful, whatever it means. I think also, like, to have the. It's hard to get asked a question and have person there, but I think that if you're in a city and you can honor the city and its places for what the beings are, who it is as a alive and native being, then you can still live all of that there, and you can, I think the soul calling is never bad. It just guides us to where we need to be and what we need to be doing, which is really unique to every single one of us. I hope that answers my perspective, my take on that a bit. Yeah.
Well, others say there is nature in cities, Karasu. Not at all. There are a lot of urban druids. You're called to where you're called. There are many ways to explore your pathway. But it's interesting. If we all left the cities and went out into wild places, we'd end up creating an urban area in wildness. You know, that, there is nature and there is spirit of place wherever you are. Okay, so Morgan says, and this is interesting, cities can be challenging, but they're also so in need of druidry and animism. Thank you. And humans are part of nature, from Gabriella. Yeah, she says there's nature and a spirit of place in cities as well. Absolutely. Anton says, thank you, Eimear. Thank you, Zoe. You two made my gym evening. Oh, I don't know if you're listening to this in the gym. Okay. So I think I'm going to end it there simply because of the poor reception, which is a pity, because we could have, Nimi says, if the cities were abandoned, they would soon become filled with wild nature. Yes, but then the wild nature places would probably become filled with cities, because we all need houses and technology, unless we're all going to build our cob houses. Somebody says, don't know about where others live, but London is a forest.
Yesterday, I was actually watching a BBC documentary with the children, and it was called Wild London with David Attenborough. Wild Emma London just made me really consider, like, how can you rewild cities? Like, what can human beings do so that the other beings are honored within a city? I have never thought of that, because I'm a country girl, but I can totally imagine some druids coming up with amazing ideas around that, and actually making sure that even in cities, like, other beings can live alongside us.
Well, it's interesting because, I see more foxes in the city than I live in a rural area. And there are more foxes in Dublin, because I go there quite often. I will see foxes at night there. I rarely see them here. I can hear them, but rarely see them. When you think of London, they've, in flat roofs, they have beehives, because there's so many gardens and parks. It's great, So there is, and then with birds that have naturalized to our urban environments, that they can find a space, because in a sense, nature does find a way eventually. When you look at, plants pushing up through concrete, or in the wild space between buildings and things like that, but I think finding your soul is, finding the place where you belong, be it city, be it rural, be it in a forest, in a yurt, or in a field, or in a village. I think it's about finding the place where you're at home, wherever that might be, So there's a lot of wishes for you with your new adventures, and good fortune to you. So I'm going to say goodbye to you. And somebody says, without cities, there'd be no modern druidry. Well, I'm not so sure about that. There'd be no urban druidry. I'm living in a city, Berlin. We had a fox couple briefly move into our estate. It was an exciting day in the group chat. Allowing space for trees and creatures and wildness, there can be space if only people stop chopping and tidying. Well, Nimi, I go mad about people chopping and tidying. Here they call it cleaning the land. And, it makes me cringe when I see it. But yes. So it's about allowing wildness. And there is a beauty in wildness. It doesn't all have to be neat and tidy. But anyway. So Zoe, I want to thank you for our chat. And maybe you can come back again when you come to a place where there's better reception. In your new place, wherever that is. So thank you so much for joining us. I'll let you say goodbye to everybody there.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. And thank you for sticking with it through the bad internet. Honestly, I end up in places with better connection, but let's see in the future. And thank you for having me, and good wishes that I can't read because I can't see the chat. But yeah,
okay,
sending
we can
everybody a lot of good wishes back.
Lovely. So don't go away. I'll send you to the green room and we can look at the comments. Okay. I'll just say goodbye to everybody. So thank you all. I'm so sorry about the bad reception. Well, it's not my fault, the weather. But what was it? Blame it on the weather. Thank you all anyway for sticking with the chat despite all of the interruptions. Anyway, I'll be celebrating Imbolc this weekend. So we're still in the month of February. So Banachty, Imbolc, Díobsa, and Banachty for Lunasa as well. Lunasa blessings for you down in the Southern Hemisphere. So next week we have our storytelling on the hearth. So I won't be doing a chat, but I'll be back on the 19th for another chat. So until then, be Gislán, be well, and wherever you are, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or if you're watching a recording of this session. So thank you so much for joining me. Until we meet again in 2 weeks' time, slán go fóill.